I have no idea what is going to happen next in the crypto markets with price. Nobody does, but I do know one thing. These markets look like they want to break out. And I want to explain why that is in this video. There's resistance for sure, but I want to break down that resistance because that's the area to look out for that bullish confirmation, that bullish pop that I think Bitcoin charts that you see here on the screen are potentially setting up for. ADA charts on this screen, I'm going to show you exact price levels and price points that I'm watching, especially going into this weekend. So hit the subscribe, hit the like, and let's jump into the video. I just want to start with this tweet that I just saw from Mike Alfred over here, laying down a couple points that I really think are important, foundational to what we're going to talk about, probably to a lot of comments that I might even get, saying, Dan, the economy's so bad, dude. It's different this time around. It might feel like it's the end of the bear cycle, but we're just getting started. Recession, it's so bad out there. Crypto's not going up. There's no liquidity. The same talking points. And those things could play out, right? But I want to put this out there. As I've stated repeatedly, the economy's booming. Everyone who wants a job has one. The Fed can't stop it because it's driven in part by irresponsible fiscal policy. The doomcasters will continue to be wrong. Watch and enjoy. I remember doomcasters from a different perspective, different narratives, but in the last bear cycle, 2018, bear market low, Bitcoin's at like $4,000. Those doomcasters were wrong. And there's a potential that doomcasters will be wrong again. And I want to touch on this as well. He also posted this a few days ago. I'm seeing a lot of tweets from otherwise smart people suggesting that the Fed and Treasury, and this plays into the charts we're about to look at and the cycles, the Fed and Treasury won't intervene in markets. This naive view demonstrates a total lack of understanding of recent market history. They literally can't stop doing it. Get ready for it in 3, 2, 1. So Mike sounding a little bullish there. But what I want to point out in terms of what he was just talking about, not only what he's saying, right? He's basically saying Fed's going to step in and intervene. The other thing that plays into that is the exact timeline of where we are. So we know where we are in crypto cycles, coming out of a bear market, approaching Bitcoin halving, all of these bullish things from a cycle perspective. But do not forget, right here, outside of crypto, this is the elections, November 2024. The current administration is going to do everything possible to prop up the markets and to even if it's all an illusion, to make it seem that things are going well. So that's kind of in play. I think the 2024 elections, they play in so nicely and tie so nicely into the current cycles of Bitcoin and crypto. And I wanted to point that out. There's downside scenarios. I talk about it all of the time, right? I'm not suggesting we're entering a bull market right now. I don't think the bull market's going to start or be confirmed until post 2024 halving. But let's talk about the charts now. I want to start on the weekly on Bitcoin, go to the daily, look at some targets, and then look at Cardano charts as well. But check it out. The thing I really wanted to point out on this weekly chart is not only because we've seen this, the consolidation of the moving averages. There's the 20 just recently, just kind of intermingling with that 200. So the green and the red, and Bitcoin right now, like right in between the confluent area. It's a big resistance area. So it's good to see these moving averages start converging together. We'd like to see this at the top of bull markets and towards the bottom of bear markets. And we can go through cycles past and we can look at setups like this. What I want to point out, though, in terms of this move is this. Simultaneously, while we're getting that move, we have a MACD right now. Now, this is what's intriguing to me, and I don't know if it's going to play out or not. Bitcoin could get rejected here, but this move right now, the MACD line, so we have an uptick on the histogram, the zero approaching zero on the histogram, but that zero on the histogram will basically visualize this MACD line crossing the signal line. What's intriguing about it to me with this Bitcoin chart is it's above zero on the histogram, right? It's not happening. We're not getting a potential MACD crossing above the signal line, something like here, right? All the way in this just oversold type of environment. It's actually above zero on the histogram. Why is that intriguing? Because if we go back and we look at the last time, actually, we're going to look at the last 2 times the MACD crossed above the signal line. On this MACD, we're going to look at the last 2 times. Check it out. Last time was right here in August 2021. That move led to the actual all-time high for Bitcoin. So very strong move happening for Bitcoin at the time. We go back and we look at the time before when the MACD crossed above. You can see at the bottom of the screen, that was like right around, let me open this up so I can actually see the chart. we're looking at right around October 2020. Why is that significant? October 2020. Well, right here, November 2020 was the actual bull market doors of the bull market being broken for Bitcoin and crypto just truly entering the bull market. So the last two times that we had a MACD crossing above the signal line, which is a setup that's happening right now on the current MACD chart, pretty bullish moves, whether it's the beginning of a bull market, whether it's just this crazy parabolic blow off top of a bull market high. Either way, strong moves for Bitcoin when it's happening above the zero on the histogram. And so that's why the charts are really intriguing to me. We go to the daily and we have the setup for potentially that MACD line crossing the signal line. We're not there yet in terms of it happening, obviously, but this could be what truly causes it to happen. And it's a break of resistance from the current levels. This is what Bitcoin needs to do in the short term. And the resistance I'm talking about is not only the weekly moving averages we just discussed. It's where Bitcoin is right now. Check out that resistance. It's big resistance. The 200 in red, the 20 moving average in green. But on the daily chart, we have the 200-day moving average Bitcoin has been stuck at. I think I remember doing a video when Bitcoin kind of started breaking out. It's stuck at the exact resistance area that we discussed in that video, right at the 200-day moving average. So that's the short-term resistance. And if the resistance continues, there is a case for obvious downside, right? We know it. We talk about targets to downside. We broke out of this rising wedge, consolidation, and potential continuation to the target. Lower 20,000s. It's in play. This video is not dedicated to talking about the downside target. It's dedicated to a potential breakout. The breakout would occur if we can start seeing this 200-day being broken on Bitcoin. Bitcoin actually started approaching that next resistance area we've discussed previously, around $30,000, a huge mental area, and then the actual true pullback to this rising wedge trend line around $30,000+. I'm not saying this is in the next week. This could be a journey, right? Going into November, but that could be the path that Bitcoin is on right now. And those are some hefty gains at this part of the cycle. So I wanted to point that out on the Bitcoin chart. This is in play from a technical analysis perspective, but even just alluding to some of the things Mike talked about, also in play from a macroeconomic perspective, I would say. Going over to Cardano. Cardano also just an exciting looking chart, I would say, because at the end of the day, for me, zooming out, as I always like to do, if we're going to compare it to the last cycle, we're somewhere around here, right? So there could be some downside. Cardano could still trickle down, but it's just the fact that all that's over. I say it time and time again. I'm happy about that. But I want to dig into these charts a little bit and kind of discuss, well, on the daily chart for ADA, what's the case? What are we looking for even going into this weekend? On the short term, there's downside. Of course, I'm just going to present it very quickly, but then I'm going to talk about the upside for ADA. So downside actually in the short term kind of stems from this setup that I have so first off, we have this falling wedge, right? This falling wedge on the screen, but it's a setup within the falling wedge on the very short term. And this is a daily chart, mind you. So it's not that small of a setup, but it's a daily chart kind of zoomed in. But you can just see these lower highs and then these kind of lower lows, another little mini falling wedge that ADA actually just most recently broke out of in the end of September, target to the upside around 28 to 29 cents. So that's something I'm monitoring because there's a lot going on this ADA chart right now. We have that pattern. We have the breakout out of the trend line. We have the 200, and this is what I'm going to really talk about in this video as it pertains to ADA, the 20-day in green approaching the 50-day. That's going to be relevant in a second. I'm going to talk about why. All while we have this target, 28 to 29 cents, and that's relevant because zooming out, that's the upper trend line. So that's a really big resistance area. You can just see going all the way back here to April, the spring of 2023. Look at this, lower highs. We don't want to see that again. We really would like to see a breakout of ADA out of this trend line and start flipping the charts on the macro. This is where it could start. Not saying it's going to, but something I have my eye on. Now on the short term, and then we're going to talk about the key 20-day moving average crossing by the 50 and when this happened before, what happened. But the key here on the short term is remember this upper trend line here. Got the breakout. What do we often do? We look for throwbacks to trend lines. So if in the short term crypto is going to fall, we could see ADA fall 10% or so to the downside, revisiting just this entire trend line that it just broke out of and testing lows. It's very, one way or the other, very close to happening, right? So we have to monitor that. I have to at least anticipate things like that because I know it's in play. It's very common for crypto to do this. Now, kind of a guard against that happening, aided falling all the way to that trend line, is the 20 and 50-day moving averages. So we see the cross above those moving averages. We see the 20 approaching the 50. Often when we get these setups, the 20 about to cross above the 50, oftentimes we'll start seeing ADA just test those areas. So ADA could trickle into these areas around 25, 26 cents and test support as we get this setup. Now, the setup is important to me because as we're watching it, I'm zooming out on the chart and I'm going back and I'm looking at the momentum of ADA now. This is where I'm kind of getting curious of what happens next. Is ADA going to get rejected at current levels, or are we going to have a breakout? Notice on the momentum oscillator, slower moving, RSI, high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Now, we had a very similar setup throughout the bear market, or even on a more macro scale. We had a high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and then finally ADA broke out. Now, notice when ADA broke out of that RSI momentum to the downside of lower highs, it broke out there. Notice what was happening. We had the 20-day crossing above the 50-day moving average. This is what is in play right now, a breakout above this trend line, this lower high trend line on momentum, while we get the potential break of the 20 crossing above the 50-day moving average, similar to what happened all the way back here. And this was in January 2023. It's like almost a year ago we had a move like that. So, and ADA went on to, see some nice gains to the upside, hit 45 cents after seeing, around 24 cents or so. So that's what I'm watching on ADA. But the thing that's cool about it is going into this weekend, while things are boring, and they really are, I'm bored watching all of these charts, there is this element of kind of excitement waiting to see which direction things go. And at the end of the day, everybody, I say this all the time, I have absolutely no clue which direction it's going to go. I track this data, I track the charts because I know what I see on the macro, and I think a lot of you do as well. And in the waves and the ups and downs in the shorter term, the midterm, I just like to anticipate and visualize targets so that I'm ready for them. And really, that just helps me mentally. Helps me mentally focus on my crypto stuff, but it helps me just kind of put crypto aside for a second and go work on other stuff because I know what's going on in terms of the charts and in terms of the cycles as well. So those are my thoughts on Bitcoin and Cardano today. I would love to know your thoughts if you're out there still. Hit the subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Putting out that crypto content as much as I can, everybody. And hopefully these markets start moving soon. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.